January 29, 1917. In the world of forms, a lack of beauty is a fault as great as a lack of truth in the world of ideas. For beauty is the homage which nature renders to the supreme master of the universe. Beauty is the divine language in the form. A consciousness of the divine which is not externally translated by an understanding and an expression of beauty would be an incomplete consciousness. But true beauty is as difficult to discover, to understand and, above all, to live as any other expression of the divine. This discovery and this expression demand as much impersonality and abdication of egoism as the discovery of truth or bliss. Pure beauty is universal, and one must be universal in order to see and recognize it. O Lord of beauty, how many faults I have committed against thee! How many faults I still commit! Give me a perfect understanding of thy law, so that I may no longer fall short of it. Love would be incomplete without thee. Thou art one of its most perfect ornaments, thou art one of its most harmonious smiles. Sometimes I have misunderstood thy role, but in the depth of my heart I have always loved thee. And even the most arbitrary, the most radical doctrines have not been able to extinguish the fire of the cult which, since my childhood, I have vowed to thee. Thou art not what a vain people think of thee, thou art not exclusively attached to any particular form of life, it is possible to awaken thee, to make thee shine in every form. But for this one must have discovered thy secret. O Lord of beauty, give me a perfect understanding of thy law, that I may not fail in it and that thou mayst become in me the harmonious crown of the Lord of love. March 27, 1917. Communication in dialogue from received during meditation. Look, thou seest the living form and the three inanimate images. The living form is clad in violet, the other three are made of dust, but whitened and purified. It is in the calm of silence that the living form can, by penetrating in the other three, unite them in order to transform them into a living and active garment. O Lord, thou knowest that I am surrendered to thee and that my being adheres with a peaceful and profound joy to what thou givest it. I know thy adherence, but I would increase thy consciousness, and for that awaken what still sleeps within thee. Open thy eyes to the light, and in the clear mirror of thy mind will be reflected what thou hast to know. Lord, all is silent in my being and waits. Knock at the door of consciousness and it wilt be opened to thee. The river streams limpid and silvery. Its uninterrupted flow descends from the sky towards the earth. But what wouldst thou say to me that I must know? Thy silence is not yet deep enough, something is in movement in thy mind. The fire of the soul has to be seen through the veils of manifestation. But those veils should be clear and precise, like words traced on a luminous screen. And all this should be preserved in the purity of thy heart, as the meadow, sown with seeds, is buried and protected under the snow. Now that thou hast sown the seeds in the field and traced the signs on the screen, thou canst return to thy calm silence, thou canst rise into thy calm retreat to be tempered in a deeper and truer consciousness. Thou canst forget thy personality and recover the charm of the universal. May peace be on thee in these hours of rest, but forget not the reveille which will soon sound. Thou wilt yet smile at thy destiny which speaks to thee. Thy heart will use the force which comes. Thou wilt be the woodcutter who binds the faggot. Thou wilt be the great swan with outspread wings that purifies the eyes with its pearly whiteness and warms the heart with its white down. Thou wilt lead them all towards their supreme destiny. Thou hast seen the hearth and thou hast seen the child. One was attracting the other, and both were content. One, because it burned, and the other because it was warmed. Thou sewest in thy heart this triumphant hearth. Thou alone canst carry it without its becoming destructive. If others touched it, they would be consumed. Let them not, therefore, come too close to it. The child has to know that it should not touch the dazzling flame which so attracts it. From a distance it warms the child and illumines its heart. Too close, it would reduce it to ashes. One alone can dwell in this heart without fear. For he is the very ray that has kindled it. He is the salamander that is reborn in the fire. Another is above, not afraid of any burning. He is the immaculate sphinx, the bird descended from the sky, who knows how to return to it. One is the power of realization. The other is the light. And the third is the sovereign consciousness. O Lord, I listen to thee and I am prostrate at thy feet. Thou hast opened the door for me. Thou hast opened my eyes, and a little of the night has been illumined. March 30th, 1917. There is a sovereign royalty in taking no thought for oneself. To have needs is to assert a weakness. To claim something proves that we lack what we claim. To desire is to be impotent. It is to recognize our limitations and confess our incapacity to overcome them. If only from the point of view of a legitimate pride, man should be noble enough to renounce desire. How humiliating to ask something for oneself from life or from the supreme consciousness which animates it. How humiliating for us, how ignorant an offense against her. For all is within our reach, only the egoistic limits of our being prevent us from enjoying the whole universe as completely and concretely as we possess our own body and its immediate surroundings. Such also should be our attitude towards the means of action. Thou who dwellest in my heart and directest everything by thy supreme will, saidst to me a year ago to cut off all bridges and fling myself headlong into the unknown, like Caesar when he crossed the Rubicon, it was the Capitol or the Tarpeian Rock. Thou hidst from my eyes the result of action. Still now thou keepest it secret. And yet thou knowest that the equality of my soul remains the same in front of grandeur or misery. It was thy will that for me the future should be uncertain, and that I should advance with confidence, without even knowing where the road would lead. It was thy will that I should wholly entrust to thee all care for my destiny and totally renounce all personal preoccupation. It was, no doubt, because my path must be virgin even to my thought. March 31st, 1917. Each time that a heart leaps at the touch of thy divine breath, a little more beauty seems to be born upon the earth, the air is embalmed with a sweet perfume, all becomes more friendly. How great is thy power, O Lord of all existences, that an atom of thy joy is sufficient to efface so much darkness, so many sorrows, and a single ray of thy glory can light up thus the dullest pebble, illumine the blackest consciousness. Thou hast heaped thy favors upon me, thou hast unveiled to me many secrets, thou hast made me taste many unexpected and unhoped for joys, but no grace of thine can be equal to this thou grantest to me when a heart leaps at the touch of thy divine breath. At these blessed hours all earth sings a hymn of gladness, the grasses shudder with pleasure, the air is vibrant with light, the trees lift towards heaven their most ardent prayer, the chant of the birds becomes a canticle, the waves of the sea billow with love, the smile of children tells of the infinite and the souls of men appear in their eyes. Tell me, wilt thou grant me the marvelous power to give birth to this dawn in expectant hearts, to awaken the consciousness of men to thy sublime presence, and in this bare and sorrowful world awaken a little of thy true paradise? What happiness, what riches, what terrestrial powers can equal this wonderful gift? O Lord, never have I implored thee in vain, for that which speaks to thee is thyself in me. Drop by drop thou allowest to fall in a fertilizing rain the living and redeeming flame of thy almighty love. When these drops of eternal light fall gently upon earth, our world of obscure ignorance, they seem like golden stars falling one by one upon earth from the inscrutable depth of the heavens. All kneels in mute devotion before this ever-renewed miracle. April 1st, 1917. Thou hast shown to my mute and attentive soul all the splendor of fairy landscapes, the trees en fate and lonely paths which appear to climb up to the sky. But of my destiny thou hast not spoken. Must it remain so entirely veiled from me? Again and everywhere I see cherry trees. Thou hast put into these flowers magical virtue, they seem to speak of thy soul presence. They bring with them the smile of the divine. My body is at rest and my soul blossoms, what a charm hast thou put into these trees in bloom! O Japan, it is the rich apparel of thy goodwill that is in its festival, it is thy purest offering, it is the token of thy fidelity. It is thy way of saying that thou reflectest the sky. And now here is a magnificent country of high pine-covered mountains and valleys in full cultivation. And the little pink roses which this Chinaman brings, are they a promise of the near future? April 7, 1917. A deep concentration seized on me, and I perceived that I was identifying myself with a single cherry blossom, then through it with all cherry blossoms, and, as I descended deeper in the consciousness, following a stream of bluish force, I became suddenly the cherry tree itself, stretching towards the sky like so many arms, its innumerable branches laden with their sacrifice of flowers. Then I heard distinctly this sentence, "Thus hast thou made thyself one with the soul of cherry trees, and so thou canst take note that it is the divine who makes the offering of this flower prayer to heaven." When I had written it, all was effaced. But now the blood of the cherry tree flows in my veins, and with it flows an incomparable peace and force. What difference is there between the human body and the body of a tree? In truth, there is none. The consciousness which animates them is identically the same. Then the cherry tree whispered in my ear, "It is in the cherry blossom that lies the remedy for the disorders of the spring." April 9, 1917. When once the threshold of the kingdom of thy omniscience has been crossed, each time that there is a return to the mental world, every thought one has there seems to be a marvelous and unfathomable problem of which one had never dreamt before. Above, no question arises. In that calm silence all is known from all eternity. Below, all is new, unknown, unexpected. And the two united in a single consciousness give a confident wonder which begets peace, light and joy. April 10, 1917. My heart has fallen asleep, down to the very depths of my being. The whole earth is in a stir and agitation of perpetual change. All life enjoys and suffers, endeavors, struggles, conquers, is destroyed and formed again. My heart has fallen asleep, down to the very depths of my being. In all these innumerable and manifold elements, I am the will that moves, the thought that acts, the force that realizes, the matter that is put in motion. My heart has fallen asleep, down to the very depths of my being. No more personal limits, no more any individual action, no more any separatist concentration creating conflict. Nothing but a single and infinite oneness. My heart has fallen asleep, down to the very depths of my being. April 28, 1917. O my divine Master, who hast appeared to me this night in all thy radiant splendor, thou canst in an instant make this being perfectly pure, luminous, translucid, conscious. Thou canst liberate it from its last dark spots, free it from its last preferences. Thou canst, but hast thou not done this tonight when it was penetrated with thy divine effluence and thy ineffable light? It may be, for in me is superhuman strength made all of calm and immensity. Grant that from this summit I may not fall. Grant that peace may forever reign as the master of my being, not only in my depths of which it has long been the sovereign, but in the least of my external activities, in the smallest recesses of my heart and of my action. I salute thee, O Lord, deliverer of beings. Lo! Here are flowers and benedictions. Here is the smile of divine love. It is without preferences and without repulsions, it streams out towards all in a generous flow and never takes back its marvelous gifts. Her arms outstretched in a gesture of ecstasy, the eternal Mother pours upon the world the unceasing dew of her purest love. Akakura, July 13, 1917. One day I wrote, "My heart has fallen asleep, down to the very depths of my being." Merely asleep. I cannot believe it. I think it is at peace, perhaps forever. From sleep one awakes, from peace one does not fall back. And since that day I have not noticed any relapse. In place of something very intensely concentrated which was for a long time intermittently tumultuous, an immensity so vast and calm and untroubled has come to fill my being. Or rather, the being has melted into it. For how could the unlimited be contained in a form? And these great mountains with serene outlines, which I see from my window majestically ranging up to the horizon, are in perfect harmony with the rhythm of this being, filled with an infinite peace. Lord, may it be that thou hast taken possession of thy kingdom? Or rather, of this part of thy kingdom, for the body is still obscure and ignorant, slow to respond, devoid of plasticity. Will it one day be purified like the rest? And will thy victory then be complete? It matters little. This instrument is what thou wouldst have it be, and unmixed is its felicity. September 24, 1917. Thou hast subjected me to a hard discipline. Rung after rung, I have climbed the ladder which leads to thee. And, at the summit of the ascent, thou hast made me taste the perfect joy of identity with thee. Then, obedient to thy command, rung after rung, I have descended to outer activities and external states of consciousness, re-entering into contact with these worlds that I left to discover thee. And now that I have come back to the bottom of the ladder, all is so dull, so mediocre, so neutral, in me and around me, that I understand no more. What is it then that thou waitest from me, and to what use that slow long preparation, if all is to end in a result to which the majority of human beings attain without being subjected to any discipline? How is it possible that, having seen all that I have seen, experienced all that I have experienced, after I have been led up even to the most sacred sanctuary of thy knowledge and communion with thee, thou hast made of me so utterly common an instrument in such ordinary circumstances? In truth, O Lord, thy ends are unfathomable and pass my understanding. Why, when thou hast placed in my heart the pure diamond of thy perfect felicity, sufferest thou its surface to reflect the shadows which come from outside, and so leave unsuspected and, it would seem, ineffective, the treasure of peace thou hast granted me? Truly all this is a mystery and confounds my understanding. Why, when thou hast given me this great inner silence, sufferest thou the tongue to be so active and the thought to be occupied with things so futile? Why? I could go on questioning indefinitely and, to all likelihood, always in vain. I have only to bow to thy decree and accept my condition without uttering a word. I am now only a spectator who watches the dragon of the world unrolling its coils without end. After some days, Lord, how many times, weakening in face of thy command, I have prayed to thee, spare me this Calvary of the terrestrial consciousness. Let me merge in thy supreme unity, but my prayer is cowardly, I know it, for it remains fruitless. October 15, 1917. I have cried to thee in my despair, O Lord, and thou hast answered my call. I have no right to complain of the circumstances of my existence. Are they not consonant with what I am? Because thou ledst me to the threshold of thy splendor and gavest me the joy of thy harmony, I thought I had reached the goal. But, in truth, thou hast regarded thy instrument in the perfect clarity of thy light and plunged it back into the crucible of the world that it may be melted anew and purified. In these hours of an extreme and anguished aspiration I feel myself drawn by thee with a dizzy rapidity along the road of transformation, and my whole being vibrates to a conscious contact with the infinite. It is so that thou givest me patience and the strength to surmount this new ordeal. November 25, 1917. O Lord, because in an hour of cruel distress I said in the sincerity of my faith, Thy will be done, thou camest garbed in thy raiment of glory. At thy feet I prostrated myself, on thy breast I found my refuge. Thou hast filled my being with thy divine light and flooded it with thy bliss. Thou hast reaffirmed thy alliance and assured me of thy constant presence. Thou art the sure friend who never fails, the power, the support, the guide. Thou art the light which scatters darkness, the conqueror who assures the victory. Since thou art there, all has become clear. Agni is rekindled in my fortified heart, and his splendor shines out and sets aglow the atmosphere and purifies it. My love for thee, compressed so long, has leaped forth again, powerful, sovereign, irresistible, increased tenfold by the ordeal it has undergone. It has found strength in its seclusion, the strength to emerge to the surface of the being, impose itself as master on the entire consciousness, absorb everything in its overflowing stream. Thou hast said to me, I have returned to leave thee no more, and, my forehead on the soil, I have received thy promise. July 12, 1918. A few days back I had known, I had heard, if thou respondest frankly and without any constraint before me, many things will change, a great victory will be won, and that is why, when the tears rose from my heart to my eyes, I came and sat before thee to let them flow as an offering, piously. And how the offering was sweet and comforting. And now, although I weep no longer, I feel thee so near to me that my whole being quivers with joy. Let me stammer my homage. I have cried to thee with the joy of a child, O supreme and only confidant, thou who knowest beforehand all we can say to thee, because thou art its source, O supreme and only friend, thou who acceptest, thou who lovest and understandest us just as we are, because it is thyself who hast so made us. O supreme and only guide, thou who never gainsayest our higher will, because it is thyself who wiliest in it. It would be a folly to seek elsewhere than in thee for one who will listen, understand, love and guide, since thou art always there to do it and never wilt thou fail us. Suddenly, before thee, all my pride gave way. I understood how futile it was to wish to surmount oneself in thy presence, and I wept abundantly and without constraint, the sweetest tears of my life, yes, how sweet they were, what a repose and calm they gave, the tears that I shed before thee without any shame or constraint. Was it like a child in the arms of its father? But what a father! What sublimity, what magnificence, what immensity of understanding! And what power, what plenitude in the response! Yes, those tears were like a holy dew. Was it so because it was not over my own trouble that I wept? Ah, what sweet, what beneficent tears, which have opened my heart without constraint before thee and melted in one miraculous moment all the remaining obstacles that could separate me from thee. Thou hast made me know the supreme, the sublime joy of a perfect confidence, an absolute security, a total, unreserved and unvarnished surrender, without effort or constraint. And joyous like a child, I have smiled and wept at once before thee, O my beloved, October 10th, 1918. O my beloved Lord, what a sweetness to think that it is for thee and thee alone that I act. At thy service I am. It is thou who decidest, ordainest and puttest in motion, directest and accomplishest the action. What peace, what tranquility, what supreme felicity are given me when I sense and perceive it. For it is enough to be docile, plastic, surrendered and attentive, so as to let thee act freely. Then there can be no longer errors or faults or any lack or insufficiency, since it is what thou hast willed that thou doest and it is so done as thou hast willed it. Accept the ardent flame of my gratitude and of my joyous and fully confident adherence. My Father has smiled at me and taken me in his powerful arms. What is there that I could fear? I have melted into him and it is he who acts and lives in this body which he has himself formed for his manifestation. Oiwake, September 3rd, 1919. Since the man refused the meal I had prepared with so much love and care, I invoke the God to take it. My God, thou hast accepted my invitation. Thou hast come to sit at my table, and in exchange for my poor and humble offering thou hast granted to me the last liberation. My heart, even this morning so heavy with anguish and care, my head surcharged with responsibility, are delivered of their burden. Now are they light and joyful as my inner being has been for a long time past. My body smiles to thee with happiness as before my soul smiled to thee. And surely hereafter thou wilt withdraw no more from me this joy, O my God. For this time, I think, the lesson has been sufficient. I have mounted the Calvary of successive disillusionments high enough to attain to the resurrection. Nothing remains of the past but a potent love which gives me the pure heart of a child and the lightness and freedom of thought of a God. Pondicherry, June 22, 1920. After granting me the joy which surpasses all expression, thou hast sent me, O my beloved Lord, the struggle, the ordeal, and on this too I have smiled as on one of thy precious messengers. Before, I dreaded the conflict, for it hurt in me the love of harmony and peace. But now, O my God, I welcome it with gladness. It is one among the forms of thy action, one of the best means for bringing back to light some elements of the work which might otherwise have been forgotten, and it carries with it a sense of amplitude, of complexity, of power. And even as I have seen thee, resplendent, initiating the conflict, so also it is thou whom I see unraveling the entanglement of events and jarring tendencies and winning in the end the victory over all that strives to veil thy light and thy power. For out of the struggle it is a more perfect realization of thyself that must arise. May 6, 1927. We must know how to give out life in our death, our happiness and our suffering. We must know how to depend for everything and in everything on the divine dispenser of all our possibilities of realization, for he alone can and will decide whether we are to be happy or not to be happy, whether we are to live or not to live, whether we are to participate in the realization or not to participate. In the integrality and absoluteness of this love and this surrender, we find the essential condition of the perfect peace, which is the indispensable foundation of an uninterrupted beatitude. December 28, 1928. There is a power which no government can command, a happiness which no earthly success can give, a light which no wisdom can possess, a knowledge which no philosophy, no science can acquire, a beatitude of which no satisfaction of desire can give the enjoyment, a thirst for love which no human relation can quench, a peace which can be found nowhere, not even in death. It is the power, the happiness, the light, the knowledge, the beatitude, the love and the peace which come to us from the divine grace. November 24, 1931. O my Lord, my sweet Master, for the accomplishment of thy work I have sunk down into the unfathomable depths of matter, I have touched with my finger the horror of the falsehood and the inconscience, I have reached the seat of oblivion and a supreme obscurity. But in my heart was the remembrance, from my heart there leaped the call which could arrive to thee, Lord, Lord, everywhere thy enemies are triumphant, falsehood is the monarch of the world. Life without thee is death, a perpetual hell. Doubt has usurped the place of hope and revolt has pushed out submission. Faith is spent, gratitude is not born. Blind passions and murderous instincts and a guilty weakness have covered and stifled thy sweet law of love. Lord, wilt thou permit thy enemies to prevail, falsehood and ugliness and suffering to triumph? Lord, give the command to conquer and victory will be there. I know we are unworthy, I know the world is not yet ready. But I cry to thee with an absolute faith in thy grace and I know that thy grace will save us. Thus, my prayer rushed up towards thee. And, from the depths of the abyss, I beheld thee in thy radiant splendor. Thou didst appear and thou saidst to me, lose not courage, be firm, be confident, I come. October 23, 1937. A prayer for those who wish to serve the divine. Glory to thee, O Lord, who triumphest over every obstacle. Grant that nothing in us shall be an obstacle in thy work. Grant that nothing may retard thy manifestation. Grant that thy will may be done in all things and at every moment. We stand here before thee that thy will may be fulfilled in us, in every element, in every activity of our being, from our supreme heights to the smallest cells of the body. Grant that we may be faithful to thee utterly and forever. We would be completely under thy influence to the exclusion of every other. Grant that we may never forget to own towards thee a deep and intense gratitude. Grant that we may never squander any of the marvelous things that are thy gifts to us at every instant. Grant that everything in us may collaborate in thy work and all be ready for thy realization. Glory to thee, O Lord, Supreme Master of all realization. Give us a faith active and ardent, absolute and unshakable in thy victory.